to the Cultivating Calmness Podcast. It is spring, y'all. I am so excited. I know spring technically started just a few weeks ago, but we're starting to really finally feel it here in Ohio. And I was able to get out in the garden and do a lot this week. And that's kind of what I just wanted to spend a little bit of time talking about. And since it's spring and we live in the Northern Hemisphere and here in Columbus, we are not Canada, but we are pretty north. And so it is cold and dark and blah for, 5 months or so. And so we're finally able to enjoy the weather and everything that's going on outside. So I hope you are taking this time to maybe do that. And I'm here to, kind of talk about what I do. And the sun is out, so I try to spend as much time outside as I can. Sometimes that's hard when you own a business and when you have, housework and things to get done. There's always just something to get done, and usually inside. Luckily right now the weather seems to be pretty good the last few days and here over the next few days, and I have some gardening to do. So I did spend some of my weekend in the garden, went out there kind of bundled up thinking it was going to be a little chilly but nice, and ended up like taking off stuff and taking off layers and sitting in the sun and pulling weeds. I know weeds are not the most fun thing to do. I hate pulling weeds, but also it's kind of therapeutic, really getting in there and digging out the roots and trying to get all of the, all of whatever you're trying to get out of the ground. And it's really rewarding. So, even just doing like a before and after picture for yourself. And if you use social media, so I tend to do that when I go out, I will take a picture of like, this is what it looks like. And then a few hours later when I'm done with it, I'll take another picture and it's like, it looks so much better with all of the weeds gone. I am not a perfect gardener. I am still learning what to do, how to make it better. So like, there are probably better ways to keep the weeds out. And I haven't really ever kept up with that. So I go out and pull the weeds versus getting leaves or I think it's straw or, some kind of ground cover to kind of keep the weeds down. I haven't ever really done that. So maybe that's something I might do this year. I also do organic gardening. So I don't use any chemicals. I don't spray anything. I might use some like organic type fertilizer to give some nutrients in the soil, and composting and things like that. So I always try to find those organic ingredients. And so, finding things that don't have or haven't had chemicals sprayed on them can be a little more difficult because I don't want to introduce that into my garden where I'm growing the food that I'm going to eat and my family's going to eat. So for me, that is important. But with the weather turning nice, I want you to think about what you are doing or what you could do maybe differently. If you are someone who tends to spend a lot of time indoors, there's nothing really wrong with that. But we get nutrients from the sun when it absorbs into our skin. And we, it helps our immune system. It helps our mood. It helps all kinds of things in our body when we are able to get outside and get sunlight. Even when it's overcast and looks like it's rainy, like the sun is still there. The sun is still shining through, which is why some of you, I know I've experienced it, maybe could get sunburn on a cloudy day. Why? Because there's still sun shining through, and you think you're protected and you spend all day outside and then you realize like, oh, I got a sunburn even though I literally could not see the sun all day. It's still coming through the clouds. You can still get sunburn. So, the sun is still there. And now that, we are moving into spring and summer, the sun is closer to us. So at least here, and you're going to get a little more benefit from the sun than you would over the winter. So in winter, what do? We tend to hibernate. We stay inside. And even when we're outside, we're bundled up, right? We have the long sleeve shirts on. We got the coats, maybe the hats, the scarves. So the only part of our skin that's really showing in the sunlight is our face. That's not a lot of area to cover to absorb any of that nutrients. So a lot of us have to supplement. Well, now that it's summer, if you're outside and you're trying to get outside more often, there are like ways you can incorporate being outside where you're not out there necessarily to do work, right? If you're just reading, do you have an area outside your home or a park you could go to where you are able to get some sunlight and get some reading in, or do that at the same time? We have a deck and some patio furniture and a table and chairs. And so what I like to do is, especially when it's nice, instead of eating at the inside table that's 10 feet or 20 feet from the table on the deck, I say, like, let's take dinner outside and we're going to eat on the deck. And we get some sunlight. It's not always direct sunlight, especially like at dinner time. But you're getting to enjoy the weather and fresh air, and all of those things can be really beneficial for you and your system and your body. If you have a yard, are you doing yard work? Do you do yard work? Can you do yard work? Yard work's not the most fun thing to do. I get it. And it gives you a sense of accomplishment when you finish something. Can you do it barefoot? I tend to do a lot of gardening barefoot. I didn't this weekend. It was a little chilly still, and I was going to be using some tools, so I needed shoes on. I was using the shovel and the rototiller, so I did need shoes on. And but typically you can see me going outside in my garden barefoot. And that's called grounding. That's you connecting with the earth and the ground. And there's, we exchange, like, I'm going to say this wrong, probably, like ions with the earth. One of us is positive, one of us is negative, and it kind of like evens us out, right? So being outside and being able to stand in the grass, in the dirt with your bare feet is really beneficial as well. Some people have a thing against grass. My son is one of them. He doesn't want the grass to touch him. He doesn't like the feel of it. So it's hard to get him to go in the grass or on the ground without socks and shoes on. But playing in the dirt, right? If you have kids, like, it's okay. They can get dirty. It's good for their immune system to build that up. You're just going outside and playing. I personally, we don't let our kids really play video games. We have a old console, one of the old Nintendo consoles with the, little bricks that you would blow into. We still have one of those, and it still, knock on wood, works. And so on occasion we will bring that out and we will play that, and they love it. And even the old school ones, right, can be very addicting. And so we have tried to avoid allowing that in our home. And that's just our choice. There's nothing wrong with letting kids play video games, although I would say that it's probably best to have a set amount of time that you allow them to play on video games. And watch TV, so we limit that as well. And usually there's like movie night and things like that, or if it's a rainy day, we may watch or do more of that. But right, if it's nice outside and my kids are like, I want to watch a movie, I'm like, no, go outside. And then we get the standard, I'm bored, I don't know what to do. It's kind of like, well, go figure it out. Sometimes it's okay to be bored and just to have to sit around and figure out what we're going to do. There's nothing wrong with that. Engaging with our kids and playing with them, that can be hard, especially, for me, like usually I have a lot of gardening, I have a lot of yard work, I got stuff I got to get done. And although it might be nice to play, I know I need to get other stuff done too. So trying to find that balance, trying to get your kids to help you. I know it's hard to get my kids to help me sometimes. They are engaged for like this long and then they're like, yeah, I'm done. If you can get in a good habit, and I'm working on that with mine, is to be able to help them to help you, and then you can get around to the fun stuff. So just thinking about how you can get yourself outside more. If you have breaks at work, even if it's a 5-minute break, taking a quick walk. If there's a small parking lot or a lap around the building, that could be beneficial too. It doesn't have to be an hour-long walk. Getting movement in throughout the day is important. And I know I have a hard time with that too. I work with, clients. Some days are really full, so I'm back to back. And so there isn't really any time to go on a walk in between clients. And when I have a break, it's a lunch break and I'm doing notes and trying to get other stuff done. But sometimes I'm able to work in that, 15-minute walk, something like that. Or I take my lunch outside and I go sit at the bench. There's like a park bench over by my office, just one park bench or one picnic table, I guess. And I'll go sit out there and eat sometimes and then come back in and finish what I need to do. So lots of ways to think about getting outside now that the weather is warming up. If it's already warm where you're at, if it's warm year round like Florida or California or Arizona or wherever, I know they do get cold bouts and it can get chilly there sometimes and you can get random snow. But for the most part, you get to spend a lot of warm days there. We are really jealous here in Ohio, but you maybe are already doing all of these things. So thinking about how you can get outside, whether it's eating your meals, taking an activity outside. If your kids want to play a board game or a game, like, can you just move it outside onto the deck or onto the driveway? Can you have your kids play and you sit outside and watch them and read a book or, do your computer work? So I've done that, sat with the computer outside while the kids are outside playing. So even though I have work to do, I don't have to do it inside. I can do it sitting outside. Those may be some, healthier alternatives and will benefit you in the long run. So think about that over this summer, winter or spring, summer, and heading into fall. Those are times where we can absorb as much vitamin D as possible and get those benefits. And you share with me any other ideas that you may have that maybe I can incorporate into my life. But thank you for joining me today. And for those of you celebrating Easter this week, wish you a happy Easter. I will see you again next week.